Hi, I'm Michael Caras. You may know me as the Bitcoin Rabbi.
And I'm Gary Leland, and you're listening to episode 133 of the Crypto Cousins podcast.
Feed your interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies by joining Hall of Fame podcaster Gary Leland on the Crypto Cousins podcast. And remember, we are all cousins in the world of crypto.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome to the show, Michael. Welcome to the show. We've talked a lot on Twitter, but this is a first time we've met, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Gary. It's nice to always love meeting Bitcoiners. And nowadays, this is about as close to meeting new Bitcoiners as anybody can get.
Yes, this could become the standard of meeting anybody for a while new, right? I mean, where I don't know. Where do you live at, Michael?
I'm in upstate New York.
Okay, so y'all are locked down for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's not like, we still can go to the grocery stores, to Walmart. But yeah, I mean, my wife and kids haven't left the house in almost 4 or 5 weeks now. I go out to do the essential shopping, but we're pretty much home. We work from home and just go out for the basics.
Well, down here in Texas, we're pretty much locked down too, the same way. My wife has been out every weekend. We go to the park, for a walk with our dogs, and we find a picnic table somewhere not close to anybody and play a game of cards. And that's the only time she's been out for 3 weeks. I come up to the studio every day because I have a one-man studio. So I don't see anybody. So I kind of feel like I'm locked down, but I do get out at least, which she doesn't do. So yeah, so things are a little bit different nowadays than they were for us just 4 months ago, 3 months ago. How are the kids taking it?
Yeah, they have I've got 5 kids, 1 to 8, and they are having a good time. So I'm a teacher, so I teach elementary school, and I've been having to deal with teaching my classes, our school has gone totally, online. So I teach a few classes a week online to my students, which are older than my own children. And then I have to get my kids onto their classes. It's not like they have 8 hours a day of classes, but each kid basically has about 30 or 45 minutes a day of class with a teacher to review some stuff. And so I've been doing, between my teaching, getting the kids to do their classes, and then me teaching my kids also, we keep really busy. It's also been the holiday of Passover this whole past week. So that is very active, a lot going on, a lot of cooking, a lot of, holiday activity stuff. So we've been busy, and, thank God some of my friends live in the city and they are cooped up there. If you don't have a backyard, if you don't have, your own spot that you can get around. So we've got enough devices to keep us busy inside, and then fresh air outside, trampoline, that kind of stuff. So we've been holding up.
My wife and I were talking about that last night, as a matter of fact, that if you live in New York City, I guess, in, I don't know what here it'd be called the Dallas-Fort Worth metro, area. But if you're in that area,
New York City is it's awful for the people who are on, the 10th floor, and they're just they're hyperventilating.
Yeah, and there's so much population in such a condensed area that I mean, you literally, everybody can't go outside in their yard. Or if they all came out the building at one time, it would be, you couldn't be 6 feet apart.
Yeah, well, that's also why the city is getting hit really hard. I mean, I lived in Brooklyn for a number of years, as did my wife. That's where we met. And when we were first married, lived there. And I have a lot of friends there, I visit there a lot. And that community is getting hit very hard with the virus. So it is because it's such a dense population just everywhere. They've got to have special regulations for the grocery stores and things now, and even the essential stuff. So we don't. Upstate is a little more. We've got a little bit more breathing room.
Yeah, I've never been anywhere but New York City and New York, but I hear that if you go upstate, it's just like anywhere else in the country. It's not all crowded, and it's just the countryside.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I've never been upstate. Do you think this will change? My wife and I were talking. Do you think this will change some people's thoughts on staying in a big city after this is over? And they may say, you know what? I enjoyed living in New York City, but, I can get a job and live somewhere else. And in case this happens again, I'm not stuck on the 10th floor, like you said, for a month.
Especially if jobs are opening up more to the idea of, work at home, of working, how do you say it, by teleworking. If you can do your job, that's one of the reasons why we are able to live upstate, besides for the rabbinic work that I do in my community and teaching, in my community. Both my wife and I do like graphic design and web design. And so we do that. We work for anyone, anywhere, around the world.
I
So
didn't know you
that's
did
why
that.
we're able to. Yeah, that's my day job, so to speak. I teach in the mornings. Being a rabbi in my community is like being an educator. That's my hobby, so to speak. That's my
Passion.
passion. I'm a trained rabbi, but my wife went to school for business, and she's been doing graphic design for 10 years, and I just developed basic web skills. So I've been working with her on that for about 10 years.
So,
So that, yeah.
well, I didn't know, but there's a lot I didn't know that I'm probably going to find out. It's kind of funny. I just really enjoy working on the web, and I guess I could do that anywhere. I just usually, and I'm not very good at going and getting business. So I guess I just keep making websites for myself because I enjoy working on the web, and I can't seem to get any business. I guess I'm not a very good salesman. But so really, your business hasn't been affected, but then you agree with me.
Somewhat. It has been somewhat, because we do a lot of work for, everything's interconnected with, when a lot of the work that we do is for Jewish programming, Jewish like events or conferences or things like that. So those things aren't happening. And so some of it, it hasn't, it's not like we're shut down, but it's definitely affected, maybe less than some others.
Well, now you wrote the book, Writing Bitcoin, Bitcoin Money. You wrote that book. It's a children's book.
Yes.
And I've got some of those. I bought some of those to sell on our online store from you. And I've read it to my kids, and they enjoyed it. It was set up in a format that was really easy for kids to enjoy. If you're not familiar with this book, you need to check it out. And we'll give the links in a few minutes here, and they'll be in the show notes. But was that something that you just naturally went to because, number one, you do teach elementary school, and you also are a graphic designer? Your wife is. And was that much easier for you than it would be some people, you think?
Yeah. Because my wife has designed books before for herself. She actually got into the business by, she started a magazine that she ran for about 9 years. She put out, maybe 60 or so issues of it. So she's been, she's designed magazines and books for a decade. And so I knew that if I needed a book to be done, we worked on it together. Really, she's not the illustrator, but she was the design,
Right.
The director of design for the book. So she picked out the illustrator. What I wrote was basically like a blog, what would have been like a blog post that would have gotten a few thumbs up on Medium, but she's the one who really transformed it into a book. And I knew that we had those abilities, the ability to, edit a book, design a book, get it to print, working with Amazon and making a website and publicizing it and all of that. We had those skills between the two of us from our previous work, so that we were able to, get this out, and we did it very quickly. I wrote the book essentially in one day, basically in one sitting. It's not a long book; it's 1,000 words. And then it was just over a year ago, and we were coming close to the holiday of Passover, where we kind of like take a break. We're pretty busy with those holidays. And I said, listen, I need to get this thing done and out so that it can get rolling, or else I don't want to get stalled. So I think we start to finish got it to print in 3 or 4 weeks, literally from the moment the idea came into place. So we worked and got it out. And it was a really fun process. I hadn't been involved so much in the graphic design. I'd been more on the web side of our business. I web and video. So it was fun to be on her side of things.
Did you, Wayne, I know how you did the ebook, I guess, through Amazon. Did you do the paperback through CreateSpace?
So there's
Which I think they
another.
changed the name of it now on Amazon.
Yeah,
But
so
that's what it was.
we've used CreateSpace a number of times, but we decided to go with Ingram. Ingram Spark is an alternative to CreateSpace. It works
I'm not
essentially
familiar
the
with
same
that.
way.
I've done
It's
like 18 with
really
CreateSpace, but I've never heard of this one.
it's basically the same thing. I think that it's cheaper for actually printing the book. It's a little, it connects to Amazon. You can connect it to an ebook. I don't remember exactly
CreateSpace seems to like rip you off when you order copies as shipping.
So that's why.
You go, oh, the book, it's a great price. And we bring in 24 and you look at the shipping and go, oh my gosh, my book cost just went up 35%.
Yes, so this was more focused on actually buying the book, at wholesale and distributing it in other places. So I didn't actually do all the research of comparing the two, and I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. I wasn't even
but they're pretty similar. Yeah, they're pretty similar. You could probably Google, CreateSpace versus Ingram Spark. There might be others, but they all kind of do basically the same thing.
You know what I really liked about your site on your book, which I haven't seen a lot. Maybe people are doing it and I'm just not aware of it. And I probably need to do it with my books. I don't know why I haven't thought of it. Is the fact that you had a price to buy an issue, a copy, but you also broke it down where you could buy maybe 12 copies at one wholesale price or 24 copies at another wholesale price. I thought that was really smart. And I haven't seen a lot of people doing that. And I guess I'm kind of surprised that I just realized how smart it was and that I haven't done it on my books.
I don't know if it works for for every kind of book. It definitely worked well for my book, and people did order in those kind of bulk rates because it's almost, my book is almost more like a pamphlet, you might say. The thing is, Bitcoiners, being Bitcoiners like to evangelize. That's right. What we like to do. We like to tell other people, and so that's why certain books you want to give out and you want to share with other people and hand them out or whatever, that kind of thing. I had one, I was at a conference last year. I was at the Magical Crypto Conference and selling my book. I got a booth there to sell books. And there was a investment manager and he said, I'm trying to get my everyone in our firm to start getting into crypto, and they're just not wrapping their heads around it. I'm going to buy, I think you bought 25 or 30 copies. He said, I'm handing this to every single one of our investors because I have to explain them why our firm is getting into Bitcoin, and they don't get it. So things like that are reasons why people would want to buy multiple copies.
And that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense too. So I'm glad to hear the book's been good for you because it's been a year. Just let me ask, did it do better than you expected?
Yeah, it really did. I was very excited, when we passed 1,000 books. That was, I kind of felt like that was my original goal, and we passed that many times fold. A few times at least. And I've been, that was really wonderful. I was also really, really excited when I just kind of like half as a joke asked people if they wanted to donate books, like just pay the cost and I would ship them out to Congress people. And
I remember that.
I thought I'd get like 20, 30, something like that. Like that was an optimistic. And some people really like love the idea. And we ended up sending almost to over 300 sent to every single U.S. senator and about half of the U.S. Congress. Wow. I just went through the list. At first I did like the financial something committee, and then I just like started going through alphabetically. And that was a real treat of getting to do that. I mean, what I've loved about the book is it's given me the opportunity. I've been following Bitcoin now for close to 3 years now. Yeah, time flies. And, I didn't really have that much to add to the conversation or that much to, get connected with that many Bitcoiners because, I'm not in the city. I'm not, physically close to people that I was able to go to meetups and things. So first I'm the Bitcoin Rabbi, and I've got things to say and connect and talk about Judaism and in Bitcoin that way. But really, with this book, I was able to connect and meet and go places that I wasn't able to do before. And I'm really thankful that I've had that opportunity as well.
It opened a lot of doors for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's this Bitcoin is not my business. It's not my, it's not what makes me like I'm not in this industry. Like that's not how I make my money. But I like meeting people, and I like, I just like the social aspect of it.
You like talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah, I like finding people. I mean, there's only so much I can talk to my wife about Bitcoin every day. So I've got to find other people who,
I think that's why people like BitBlock Boom so much, is because they're all of a sudden they're around hundreds of people that's all they want to talk about is Bitcoin. They don't want to talk about all this other stuff. They're just talking about Bitcoin. And so that's the impression I get from people when they leave on Sunday is, oh my gosh, I have never talked to so many people about Bitcoin, and people didn't think I was nuts or crazy. And there were so many people that I could talk to about, and no one said, no, was trying to sell me some altcoin or ICO or something, so, and while I am saying that, I am going to, that was my segue. You like how I went into that? That was my segue for, if you're not familiar with BitBlock Boom, that's a Bitcoin conference I do in Dallas, Texas. This is our third year in August. If heaven helps us and we can have it, I'm hoping it's far enough away that we will, but we're going to have a BitBlock Boom for our third year in August. Go to bitblockboom.com, check it out, and look at our lineup. And if you decide to come, whether you decide now or whether you decide in July, remember the code word cousins, COUSINS, and that'll give you 30% off the price. So check it out, bitblockboom.com. But now that my commercial's over there, I really do, though. I hear that from everybody that comes, that they just had such a great time because they got to talk about Bitcoin all week. And that a lot of them are from towns where there's nobody there they know to talk to Bitcoin about, or they can only talk to their one person, so many times about Bitcoin, but then they enjoy it, but they want to talk to a bigger group and get more conversation going.
Yeah, there are so many Bitcoiners that come into this space from so many different angles, even just when you are sitting with a couple of people. Just like, for example, a few months ago, I was out to dinner with, I met a friend of both of ours, Pierre Richard, and I was out to dinner with him and with Jeff Andrew. And,
Jeff. Both of them are great people. Both of them are speaking at BitBlock Boom.
So they're the kind of people that you want to talk to about Bitcoin. But they just have their different perspectives, and they're different, from their industry and their own experience. And so each person's got something. Some people everybody sees what they are seeing in Bitcoin and what they like about it. And so it's great to hear a lot of different voices.
It is, and you can go into something like thinking you know a lot, and then realize how little you know, because you meet so many people that know more than you do, but you thought going in, you knew a lot and maybe you do, but you find out how little your lot is sometimes that. How did you get into Bitcoin? What was your Bitcoin moment or whatever?
Well, so I've always had I've had like a libertarian streak. I guess you could say grew up, raised with that to some degree on the right side of the aisle, and then, more ideologically libertarian, and then and fiscally so as well. And when, but I just never noticed it before 2017, not in a way that I thought that it was a real thing. I actually thought it was a joke, thought it was kind of like a video game money or something like that. And didn't understand why people were, I just somehow was not in the, I guess I wasn't on the internet so much. I wasn't on Twitter, wasn't really in that, in the social media of those spaces where I would have heard about it and discussed it in a serious manner. So the first time, just in the run up of 2017, my older brother, who is also into Bitcoin and crypto more generally, that's when he first discovered it, and found out about it, I guess through friends. He had actually known about it in earlier years, but didn't pay that much attention to it. I think he said he mined a little bit when like in the early years, but lost it and doesn't really want to think about that. But anyways, he
I doubt anyone does who's lost it.
Nobody wants to think about that. But so he rediscovered it in 2017, after when the bull run started happening, introduced it to me. And, more than pretty much any other concept, in my life, it clicked immediately. When I heard it explained, in plain words, it clicked. It took about a week of trying to explain it to my wife for it to click to her also and to understand it. And then we were pretty much just became on board and became, a Bitcoin family. And I'm not in it just on my own. We're pretty, I can't say heavily invested because I'm a rabbi and a school teacher. So right. What can I be heavily invested? But I'm heavily personally, emotionally invested.
I think my wife's only in it as much as she is because I'm so heavily mentally invested, if nothing else, that she hears me talk about all the time, and she has faith in me that I'm not going to steer her down the road. And usually, no matter how crazy an idea has been since 1983 when we got married, no matter how crazy people told me I was, my stuff always happened that I said would happen, because I use this as a story in 96 or 96. I decided to start an e-commerce site to sell wallpaper, and everybody told me I was nuts. People wouldn't buy stuff on the internet. And I said, well, I think people would buy stuff. Now it seems common sense. But she was even going, everybody says you're crazy, Gary, spending all this time. So I
what
think
else was selling on the internet at that time?
Well, we were the first wallpaper store, to sell on the internet. And I don't know what else was selling on the internet. I just started making a website because I can't remember. I just started getting on the internet and moving around. I'm sure I wasn't the first website, don't get me wrong, but I was right there near the beginning of e-commerce starting. I mean, we had to make our own shopping cart. We couldn't buy a shopping cart. That's because I tried a year and a half earlier and I couldn't get the shopping cart figured out.
I'm just thinking the first time I ever bought something online probably was from eBay, probably, in around 2000 or so.
Yeah, I remember when eBay came out.
That's the only thing. I don't really remember buying other things online for a long time, but that's got to be the first thing I remember.
I think my track record with her, things like that and other things I've done, been a little bit ahead of the curve, that she's a big believer. And she can pretty much explain everything now. She's watched me. I sit at home and get home, I just turn on YouTube and watch people talk about Bitcoin all night. So she's seen that so much now that she could carry on a conversation and know what she's talking about. Whether she believes in it or not, or just believes in me, could be a different story. But she actually could carry on a conversation now. But, I was kind of the same way. Once someone explained it to me in terms I could understand, I had someone earlier try to explain it to me as internet stock. And I wasn't interested in internet stock. I'm terrible at buying and selling stocks. I've had a couple winners, way more losers. But when I overheard someone talking about it at a conference as an internet protocol, then I kind of perked up and started listening. I said, what do you mean? He said, like emails are protocol and HTTPS. And they started going on and we ended up speaking the entire day at the conference on the couch about Bitcoin. Because that interested me.
I would say that I didn't even understand. I wouldn't have understood what that phrase had meant, internet protocol. I don't come from really any kind of computer science background, even though I'm very tech focused, meaning I love gadgets and I love, front end user interface and that kind of stuff. But I'm not at all involved in, real computer science. I just haven't, and that's been kind of my weakness in my approach to Bitcoin, which still has a lot of work to go in my study of it. I've loved to, that's why I like to talk to, people that are really knowledgeable, but I just understood it as, it's a money, and that really once the wake up point for me in a lot of ways was understanding about nodes. When you understand that, that you run it on your computer. Nobody's telling you that. The two kind of points are that there's 21 million and there can never be more than 21 million. That's the economics part of it that I like. And that you run it on your computer, and
Right.
nobody can change that. Nobody can tell you what you should be running or how you can, how the rules work. And when I put those two pieces together, that's, that really like made it blow up.
And I agree on all that. I just think when I heard it referred to something, and maybe money would have done it better, but when I heard it as internet stock, I was automatically turned off. Stocks
Right.
on the internet. I said, forget that. I mean, money probably would have interested me too, but I just heard it a different way, and I knew protocols because had been involved in the web for a while. I knew internet protocols. So I'm not a computer science or anything, but that perked my ears, I guess, a little bit. Hey, let me ask you another question. This is a religious question, and I know the
Okay.
answer is going to be yes, or you wouldn't be involved in it. But Bitcoin, I guess, has to be kosher,
Yes,
or you wouldn't
it's
be
my
into
opinion.
Bitcoin. I mean, so we know the
Yeah,
answer
I
is
mean,
yes.
yeah, the general idea is that all technology is, it's all, the whole world is created by God, and that means all of the inventions are. So it's just a matter of how you use it. Are you using it for good or for not? I mean, there are certain things that we kind of question. So like social media, I mean, especially now when we are, all of us are kind of, locked up and locked away. Religious people, rabbis and Jewish people and people of all faith are using technology now more than ever to connect with each other and to practice their religion. My synagogue is closed. We've been closed for about 3 weeks. And I think nearly every single synagogue in the country is closed right now. So being online is not a replacement for the synagogue. There are lots of things that we can't do when we're not together, which I'm sure all religions have that aspect. But there still is, we are spending more time online together than we ever would have before, as far as learning together and saying prayers together and teaching and having children and just, gathering and all kinds of stuff. So it's all about using a technology for a good thing. So a technology that makes digital money and invents digital scarcity is not inherently a bad thing, even if a bad person uses it, which is just factually is the small minority of Bitcoin use. Most people are using it for as either a trading tool or as a store of value or a means of exchange. But I mean, a lot of it is just being held in cold storage or being used on exchanges to people trying to trade. But that doesn't really change the inherent potential for good of a tool like Bitcoin than any other tool.
So, but it's funny. It seems like the side of the story that we hear more about is the bad side, even though that may be the smallest side. About how it's used by drug lords or how people use it to ransomware or something like that. I mean, we rarely hear anything good on the news
Yeah,
about it.
well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the famous saying is that if it bleeds, it leads. That the news is generally more focused on bad things than on good things. Just as a fact of how newspapers sell advertising and get clicks and views, which is unfortunate. But so that's how people are going to be doing that. But that's one of the reasons why I am a public figure in the Bitcoin space and do talk about it, but and share it in my community, because I want to fight that narrative, and I want to say, like, listen, I'm a family man. I'm a religious person. I try and live what I consider both a lawful and moral life. And Bitcoin is just the money that I like to use for, that I like to have as whatever you want to call it, as a store of value or as a hedge, or, that it just feels like it's the right kind of money for a person who is free and wants to have sovereignty over their own money, and doesn't like how the banks and how the Federal Reserve have been controlling the money supply. And I think a lot of people are maybe more open to that idea now and in the past couple months than maybe they ever have been before.
maybe that will actually start a new look at online money, and Bitcoin by some people. I was thinking, this may sound crazy. I don't know why I was thinking this that night, but unfortunately, a lot of people, older people, my age and older, are the majority of people, since I'm 65. I think maybe it's 70 and older, but I'm pretty close, are the ones being affected and passing away the most, during this coronavirus. I don't personally know anyone, fortunately, but I mean, if you look at the stats, that's where they're at. Do you think that is going to cause, if that rate cause of death of older people keeps up, that's going to cause a faster move in the boomers' wealth being passed down to the millennials, and further increase the amount of money put into Bitcoin by millennials at a faster, because we know that's going to happen, over time. But is that increasing it?
So I guess I have three parts I want to answer that. One is I know many people, like I said, in my old community in Brooklyn, particularly in the Jewish community. I know many people who have died.
I'm sorry to hear
most
that.
of them older than 70. But some younger, some in a friend of mine is actually in his mid-30s, and he is right now in the hospital, very, very tough, critical shape. So everyone, we're all praying for him.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
Everything. So it is affecting a lot. I know many people who are affected. That was the first thing, but I'm hopeful, and that it's not going, that we are going to be able to stop this before it has like a global it's having a global economic effect, but to the rate that you're describing, that like it's going to massively, I mean, if it would take out massive part of the population, then that would be true. Then that would be decreasing the average age of the US population, if it would. But I'm hoping that it doesn't spread that much, that whatever the treatment and all the things that we're doing do help it keep those numbers down.
Right.
And then on three, but it to the basic general idea is as wealth, the idea of the what makes the number go up for Bitcoin is that people choose to store more wealth in Bitcoin than they previously were. That's what makes the number go up. And the more wealth that the people who are interested in Bitcoin does go as those people grow older and get more money, and the wealth of the country is transferred to new people and younger people. So that I think is the direction. We've kind of gone back and forth on this a little bit on Twitter about I see the kind of our time now as the preparatory time for Bitcoin, and that what I call are the children are the children, the Bitcoin children who are born after Bitcoin was created. They're really going to be the inheritors of the kind of fully developed Bitcoin standard, Bitcoin system, and that we are. I'm not really like all that interested on trying to gain the wealth from the boomers and the seniors right now, because I think that it's just going to be the natural progression that's going to take, I don't know, a couple decades or however long it takes. And it will just be my kids that are really getting the fully developed system.
So Generation B, as Corey Clipston calls them.
Generation B. Okay.
Kids that are born after Bitcoin
I probably have heard him say that. I met him in California last year, almost a year ago, and I've been working with him and the Swan Bitcoin team.
As am I.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's another official name for him, but I think that's a good name for him. Generation B, born after 2010.
2009, January 3rd, 2009. They're Bitcoin babies. My niece, actually, my oldest brother's oldest daughter, she was born on that exact day. And a funny thing, her name, her name is in Hebrew. She lives in Israel, but it translates to Goldie, like Golda. Goldie. That's so
Wow.
born on the same day as Bitcoin and named Gold is a pretty cute coincidence.
That is a cute coincidence. That is a cute coincidence. Well, we're getting about to the time I like to make these two, so I don't want to get into a lot more subjects. But is there anything that you wanted to bring up or mention or tell people that I might not have brought up? Because, like I said, I just do these as a conversation nowadays and just try to enjoy meeting new people and talking to people. And you might have had something you wanted to mention or tell us that I didn't cover, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Everybody's been so focused now on, the situation that we're in now, Bitcoin. I mean, it's so tense. You can feel like the energy that there's the Bitcoin halving coming up. There's all of this economic, financial, political, everything is just so tense, and a lot of people are going through a difficult time. I tell people online to, you're stay focused on this one. A few things I do are I take a day off every week. For the Sabbath, I'm offline one day a week at least, and kind of helps clear the air, clear the mind. So I tell people, make sure to take a break, give yourself some breathing room and some headspace away from all of this pressure, and also to remember that a lot of people are hurting, and as a Bitcoiner, we're not. At least I am, and what I see from Bitcoiners is that we're not really all in this to just get Lambos and Citadels, but we really want to make the world better and to help people. So remember, during this time, people really do need help, and so whatever you can do to help your friend or your neighbor or your family member, that's big. I say, we say Bitcoin fixes this, but also Bitcoiners fix this. So I think Bitcoiners, in whatever way they can, try and help out and be good. I think that's one of the best ways also to evangelize Bitcoin, is to be a person that people see you as a Bitcoiner, know you're a Bitcoiner, and say, that person's got the right ideas. They're thoughtful. They are thinking. They are, when they see that, they will, be more intrigued in what you have to say. For whatever thoughts you're doing, same thing. I mean, that's how a religious person acts as well. That they are trying to, live as a good example, so that people say, hey, maybe there's something to this, to these ideas that they've got. So, Bitcoiners try and be good.
That is a great idea and a great way to end the show with a comment like that. But why would I expect anything less from a rabbi than a great comment like that? If I think that's a great way for Bitcoiners to be. So I love that. Hey, where can people follow you? First of all, on Twitter, what's your Twitter?
All right, I'm on Twitter 6 days a week at the Bitcoin Rabbi. You can find me there. I've been busy with kids and stuff, but I'm there. I'm still there. I'm liking stuff, even if I'm not posting funny and cute memes and stuff as much as the rest of y'all.
And your book, what's the website for your book?
So you can find me. I'm at thebitcoinrabbi.com, and my book is bitcoinmoneybook.com.
Okay.
Which really just forwards you to my website too, that you
Gotcha.
can get the book there. It's also on Amazon. A lot of people have been getting from Amazon, and the book, it's been out for a year. A lot of people have gotten it, but it's a year-old book, and so we actually have the audiobook is for free. Well, it's on my website. It's on my Twitter. Anybody can find it. You can listen to it. It's not just an audiobook. It's animated. So like you can sit your kid down 15 minutes or you can send it to somebody like that. It's free. I just put it out there, and I figured people could use that. Why not?
Well, I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, spread it around, get the word out there. Well, I want to make sure you know one thing's for sure: you are now officially a crypto cousin. So you're a cousin. Hey, I appreciate you coming on the show. I really do. I know I gave you. This was kind of short notice, and that's the way I operate. Everything on me is short notice. But you came in and like a pro and handled it. And this was very interesting. And I told you this already, but I want to, if BitBlock Boom, if we have it, I want to try to help you get there. I want to make you. I know you have a problem on Saturdays because that's your day off. I want to get you there at least on Thursday and Friday. If nothing else there. So we'll talk about that when it gets closer and looking like it's going to happen.
All right. We'll definitely talk about it.
I want to see if I can make that work for you. So thanks again for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye. Adios, everybody. This is a Bitcoin Boomer production.